Welcome back, guys, to MLG Prizefights presented by BIC Flex4 Razors. I'm JP McDaniel. That is Wolf over there. We've got our second match of the night coming up, Grubby versus Goody. And let's talk about the players here for a little bit. Goody, he's a Terran player who everyone really knows about his mech play. Everyone knows him as a very passive, very well thought out player. Positionally, he's one of the best because of his kind of tendency to use the mech style of play. And a lot of people know him for his TVT. TVP, what do you think about it, Wolf?
Well, I think he definitely can take it. I don't know exactly what type of style we're going to see from him because he is a little bit unpredictable. He's been using bio. He hasn't been using mech in this matchup because he decided, it's just not going to work. It's not really viable. Well, I'm curious to see what he's going to do against Grubby here.
And, you know, Grubby's the player. He's kind of that chameleon RTS player that can jump from game to game and might not be the best at the start, but he's one of the few players that is always improving. From tournament to tournament, you can see small things that he's doing, that he's constantly practicing on. He practices all day long. He's kind of got that, one of the few players that I think is never negative about his play, at least openly. Maybe kind of behind the scenes he is, but he always seems very positive about StarCraft 2 and always tries to get better. And I think he's doing that right now in the StarCraft 2 scene.
Yeah, he absolutely is. He's growing so quickly. He's really learning the game. He's come to learn the game so quickly that I feel like even though he's not necessarily like the strongest force right now, he has a ton of potential.
Yeah. Well, these two guys are going head-to-head. $500 on the line in this best of five. Let's not delay it anymore and jump into our first map as we head to MLG Daybreak. And we can see Grubby spawning down here at the bottom left-hand corner as the red Protoss. Up in the top right will be the fellow European from Team ESC Icy Box. It is none other than the blue Terran Goody.
Yep, I actually didn't know that team had Icy Box on the end of it until I saw that card earlier, and I was like, well, that's interesting. I wonder what that's all about. That's kind of a cool team name.
They like their boxes icy, man.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's like maybe what they call where they keep their drinks cold.
The icy box. I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll have to ask Goody next time. Did you know that Goody's actually a pretty good karaoke singer?
Yes, I heard that about him.
He's pretty good. Grubby, I don't know. I would assume he is. I mean, he's pretty good at almost anything he does. But Goody, man, he can sing. He can sing quite well. And that's all I know about Goody, guys. I don't know anything about his Terran play in this matchup.
Right now, Grubby has actually put his pylon in an interesting location at his wall. So I'm not sure exactly what this means, but normally you don't do this against Terran. Probably just a mistake, or maybe he's just going to make his gateway behind it. It could be that he's afraid of an SCV Marine push, so he wants to have a wall, but that's the only thing I could ever see being the reason why, because otherwise you make yourself a little bit exposed to an attack.
And he is going to be going Nexus first, but where is this probe going? I guess he's just looking for proxies, as that can sometimes happen. And why not when you got to, of course, collect the minerals first to make that Nexus. And there it goes. Nexus first here for Grubby.
With Nexus first, I kind of like this pylon placement because if his opponent does freak out, and yeah, he's going to go for Forge. He's going to go for the Forge version of this. If his opponent freaks out and does an SCV Marine all-in after scouting this, he may proxy 2 additional barracks like players like Maru Prime have done. Then you want to have that wall off. Plus, if you have this Forge here, it's a good position, and you can, if you wanted to go Gateway instead of Forge, you can rally your units down to the Natural a little bit faster. So I get it, and I think that's pretty cool now that I see kind of how this build is unfolded.
Who started doing this, Wolf? Was it over there in Korea? I feel like that's where it originated from.
You know, I don't know the first person to ever do it, but the first person I heard about doing this is actually Liquid Tyler. It was the first person I was told that someone was like, yeah, Tyler's been doing this. I'm like, oh, okay. It's the first person I heard about, but in Korea, I've seen Killer do it before. I've seen players like Oz do it. Naniwa has done it in Korea. So it's something that you do see in Korea. I don't know where it originated, but I remember in the beta, who was doing this? It was a North American player.
Really?
Who was fallen out of the scene. In the beta, someone was making this work. Well, before I say anything more, I have to describe what is occurring at the top left.
Goody. What are you doing, man?
This is one way to get ahead when your opponent goes Nexus first.
And I'm getting kind of nervous right now. That probe is right next to that base, but it will not go up anymore. But okay, Goody's thrown down a third base here, and a hidden one at that. It's going to allow him another mule. It's going to allow him an economic boost if the risk does pay off. If it gets scouted, I guess all he really has to do is just lift off. So it's not the biggest risk, but it's 400 minerals here at the start of the match.
Yeah. I'm still trying to remember desperately who did this build during the beta, but I can't remember who it was. He was the person who streamed a lot, and he talked while he was streaming, and he basically, after the beta, or after early release, he retired. He doesn't play anymore. But anyway, the reason it didn't really catch on back then was because Reapers built faster. People were still doing proxy Reaper rushes and things like that. And if you do this type of build against that, you just auto-lose. Yeah. Maps were different, like Steps of War, you know, Marauder rushes are a lot stronger, so you couldn't do stuff like that in the beta, but... +1 armor coming out from that forge early on. This is another benefit you get with this build. You have very fast upgrades. Grubby, though, if he doesn't scout this command center up at the top left for Goody, he's going to think that he's ahead in a lot of different ways, but he just won't be.
Exactly. And meanwhile, Goody's opened up with the very standard 3 racks. No tech labs or reactors, though. Typically, you see 2 tech labs, 1 reactor. But I think he just started mining gas because of that early 3rd CC. Grubby's gonna go look around now with his zealot, and he really can't tell that that's up at this point in the game, because by now Goody has everything that you should have at this point.
Yeah, he does. I mean, there's nothing out of the ordinary. The only thing he would know is if he had an observer on the main base to see the timing, so he might be like, well, this is a little bit off. But, I mean, he just can't have that. He'll never have that with the Nexus first this early. It's just impossible. His Robo's just now finishing up, and it's a pretty quick Robo after Nexus first. So basically the fastest possible time he can have it out comfortably and safely against anybody. Goody is, you know, that double tech lab down like you were mentioning before. He's got +1 on the way. He will start stim first, and as soon as he has the rest of his gas, go for that combat shields. He's getting his factory up at the same time as well, so a lot of tech going down at once here for Goody. He's even getting a missile turret at the front of his base to be super safe. Grubby has, interestingly enough, made 2 cannons at his natural. That's something that may come into play later. He's adding a lot of gates.
Yeah, he's up to 7 at the moment, adding in yet another one, going up to 8 gates, getting that +1 weapons now. Probably going to be seeing a 1-1 timing out of Grubby here, and let's see how Goody deals with it. One thing that Goody has coming up for him, timing-wise, is this medevac push that all Terrans are doing. You get +1, you get combat shield, you get stim. Move out with those medevacs, and it is quite devastating and hard to deal with, regardless of what you're up to.
Yeah, you're right. This is a very tough push to hold. The observer will come in here and see just that. He's going to be like, oh, okay, you're going for this type of push. I'm not sure why Grubby, in fact, is trying to attack against this. He may just use these gateways defensively now that he knows what's going on, because to attack here, yeah, it does force them to be on the defensive for a second, but if they hold well, they're going to have stim and combat shields and medevacs while you have a gateway army that's not well upgraded. He's going to have 1-1 against just +1, but again, this attack by Grubby, I think, will be shut down really easily by Goody. If he loses all of his sentries, Goody is going to have a lot of mobility and power to continue to attack Grubby. Grubby doesn't have a 3rd, and the 3rd base of Goody is still going strong right now.
And there is a big warp in here. Yeah, at this point, the 3rd base for Goody, I'm not even sure if it's going to get scouted until like 20 minutes in if the match lasts this long. This attack for Grubby is going to be quite devastating. I love the fact that he brought that warp prism along with him. The robotics facility would be pretty much useless after creating those 2 observers with a build like this, but he brings the warp prism with him. And you're going to see... oh, that's not good.
Oh man, this is actually terrible.
Goody moves out, Grubby moves in, force
out.
dropped. He's going to have to take the debris down, and oh man, Goody.
I get it now, man. I think this is actually what he planned. He was like, I'm actually going to counterattack you when you move out, with those units. Look at this, force fields him out. And what can Goody do? He's losing a ton of SCVs to his natural. He's just going to continue to force field. He should be trying to lift with his medevacs potentially, but he's just not doing it. And now all the SCVs of the natural are dying. He can force field again to hold these units out. Oh, this is terrible for Goody. Potentially going to lose his command center here if the Stalkers target.
And now it's starting to burn, and there's no way. Okay, the Stalker still can finish it out. It is going to fall here. The nice thing for Goody, though, is that expansion's going to pay off, and he's going to have a counterattack here. But that's a lot of forces for Grubby. And where's that War Prism at? Okay, it's still just reinforcing the army. Grubby cannot force his way up this ramp, so he might just return home. He sees the army of Goody, and he's actually got to get back to base quick.
Yeah, he needs to get back ASAP. He's making some cannons there. They're not going to be up in time. He's just going to target those down with the healing power of the medevacs. He will be able to tear through here, and Grubby is definitely not out of this one yet. He's going to lose some Zealots here basically for free. They're trying to target down these Marines while the Nexus goes. But look at this. He's just going to micro against those, losing very few units. Grubby's Stalkers are getting back, but this is still a very strong Bioforce, and the upgrades are about to be dead even at 1-1. I'm not sure about this targeting on the Robo, but either way, now he's going to get these Stalkers, and the Sentries are not here in time to help out. The Probes may join the fight as well.
There's an Archon in the main. The Probes are trying to get up the ramp, but not having that much success. That attack gets cleaned up by Grubby. And once he sees this army, yeah, he sees it right there with the Observer. He's probably thinking, where are you getting all this from? How do you have this much stuff when I just took out your natural and killed the command center?
Yeah, he's got to be wondering about that now, and I wonder what is he going to go scout? I mean, he has not shown any intention of doing so far. He's just going to continue to attack. Goody may not be able to hold the second wave though, as he is going to be, it looks like, out of position, and Grubby will have +2 armor when this attack hits. He has no bunkers up. This could potentially be a problem. Goody may, though, just, or rather, Grubby may just go and take a third base now and play a longer game. The choice is his. Storm is on the way. It's almost done. That's going to help him defend a potential third base really well. So I'm not sure what his next move is going to be.
And
well, now,
right
because
yeah,
he's actually warping in more units and moving across the map.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to try to end this game right now. Here comes the War Prism. Trying to drop now into the natural, drops off one Zealot and gets out of town as Goody was ready for it. But one thing Goody is not ready for here is Grubby's main force pushing up the ramp, takes out that missile turret. Well, should. He goes, okay. The missile turret's going to stay alive, but regardless...
No concussive shells!
Oh, did he forget?
No concussive shells on these units! Oh man, I think he's just realizing as I am, he's like, those Zealots should have died. He's just now starting it. And there are not only no concussive shells, but no Ghost. The Ghost Academy started as soon as he saw those Templar, but he has so many Storms available right now, JP.
And here we go. Great force fields and great Storms right behind him. Grubby making it look easy here, cleaning up this army. There is not much Goody can actually do here. That was very well executed from Grubby in his attacks. His army control and unit control when it comes to the spellcasters is tip-top.
Yeah, absolutely great control. And Goody is going to have to GG. There it is, GG. And great control from Grubby. Great decision-making through the game there. His decision to get Storm, I think, was probably his best one, because he consistently scouted his opponent, has not gotten any Ghosts out, and he's like, I'm taking a little bit of a gambit here. I think if he does come up the ramp and poke and see Ghosts, with that attack, he just goes home and takes a third, because he's like, from what he's seen, I mean, of course, Goody had a third base up this entire time, but from what he's seen, it's like, well, he doesn't have a third either. So if I take a third, he's going to attack me, and I'm going to have Storm. Defensively, it's hard to attack with Ghosts against Storm, even though you have the EMPs available. The defender's advantage just exists there, so it's very hard to break your way through those Storms. And I like the decision-making from Grubby throughout that game.
Yeah. Great stuff coming out of the Protoss player Grubby. Goody tried to sneak in that expansion, but like you said, it did not really work out for him. So that was game one. Coming up after the break, we'll go on to Antigua Shipyard for game two. See if Goody can tie up the series. We'll see you guys then.